Hi everyone, welcome to a Chandler's channel. I'm Tracy and I'm your host, and what I do on my channel is I consciously channel, lots of channeling going on, eh? I consciously channel my spirit guide Whitehawk, and he's always full of insightful messages, teachings, and lessons. And the topic of our reading and or message today is bullying. And you'll notice that if you've been to my archives, I do have a bullying message, part 1 and 2. And it was one of the first messages I've ever done, and I didn't realize the time restraints with YouTube, or it's maybe my iPad, I'm not sure. Anyways, the whole reasoning for me to come back and do this one is to shorten it up so that there's no part 1 and 2. It's just one full one. So without further ado, because I've blabbered on, I am going to go and get Whitehawk and see what he says about bullying. Indeed, he says. Bullying. He says, I hate bullying. He's like, oh, he's so angry by bullying, he says. You know, like he doesn't say it. He's just very passionate about it, and it makes him tense up, you know, about when people go on about bullying. He says, yes, why do people bully? He says, why? He says, there's no need, he says, for bullying. In a nation so full of love, he says, so full of nature, he says, why do we need to bully? Can we not raise each other up? Can we not lift each other up? He says, do we have to degrade each other to a level, he says, where that is where our power comes from, he says? For our power truly does not come from that. That is very short-lived power, my friends, he says, if that's where you think you are getting your power from, he says. The power, the true power, in essence of power, he says, comes from the heart. It comes from your love, it comes from your heart. That, he says, is where the love is. Now, as you can tell, I'm very angry and I'm very passionate today, and I've caught this little one, he says, off guard. But he says it needed to be said. He says, your real power, the essence of your real power, he says, solid power, comes from love. It does not come from evil, is what he wants to say. He's like, it comes from your gut, he says. You know, when your gut tells you that something is wrong, it is wrong. Heed its call, he says. Do not like question it, is what he's trying to say. Yes, I am saying, do not question it. And now he seems to have calmed down a little bit. He goes, I just get so frustrated. He says, little ones, power is not in degradation. Power is not in evil. He says, and it's like he's like referring back to the Boston bombings. Yes, power is not in degradation. Power is not making yourself feel better and more beautiful because you've taken away from somebody else. For I assure you, he says, that power is not long-lasting. But your real power, your essence of power, comes from love, comes from hope, comes from faith, comes from how we treat each other. If we cannot find a kind word, he's like saying, comes from how we treat each other with kindness of words. He's like, yes, if we cannot find a kind word to say to someone, then he says, really? Turn away and walk away and say nothing, he says. It really does come down to that, my friends, he says. I'm not telling you to stay in an abusive situation or to not speak up, he says. Speak up. But just choose wisely. Be careful of your words, he says, for words can be very, very cutting, he says. They are very powerful. And if they are very powerful, why can we not use them for good instead of bad, he says. That is all I'm saying. I think that's all I want to say, he says. I'm sorry, little ones, loved ones, he says. I'm just very frustrated with the outcome of the events, he says, that have occurred in Boston. I want everybody to have real power, not fake power in a moment of power. I want you to have power that will go on and on and on. God bless, he says, when you walk this earth today. Walk it with real power, honest power, authentic power. God bless. Well, as usual, it's always a surprise. And so this reading is very much from the bullying part 1 and part 2, and it's probably a lot to do with the time frame as to when I've done it. But visit those two because they're very powerful messages as well, and they'll help you to understand bullying that much more. Well, that's our reading. So our next reading, I haven't really come up with a topic. There are many, so please do comment and give me a suggestion, not to be a personal reading, but something maybe you'd like me to channel a reading on. Subscribe so you know when my next video is up. Like, and when you comment, be kind and keep it clean. See you next time. I'm Tracy for a Channeler's Channel. God bless.